social and personality development.
Main influencers on my life:
work with one another, personalities in group settings,
leadership characteristics, differing interests,
social groups, recess, how the interactions are perceived by others, leadership role,
talking to teachers,
student talk with one another,
nurture me.
How important do you believe group interaction within school settings is for children's social and personality development?
I think it's incredibly important. A lot of my instruction is based on it. And it's just because now you just need to be able to work with many different learning styles and many different personalities, and so it's important for the students to become aware of that and to have the opportunity to learn what's appropriate in group settings and how to work with one another, use their strengths, help out your weaknesses. The whole class throughout the year has been table groups, so it's always facilitating. You won't see any rows here, except during the state testing. But so there's just a huge emphasis on student talk with one another.
But which group dynamics do you think has the most effect on personality development?
I think it really comes down to the social groups that the students are hanging out with at recess, outside of school. I think that plays a bigger role because they're making the conscious decisions. They choose the decisions that they want to do out there, the people they want to hang out with, and I mean, inside the classroom plays a role definitely, but I think outside it plays an even bigger role. I would say, you learn how to successfully interact in a group, but usually it's working towards a goal here and a task, whereas outside you have more freedom. So I think that really goes with the personality, and then they bring the personality into here. Right now we're working on debates, which is huge. We had a debate in my class where they teamed up, and they had to work together to have a cohesive argument throughout. When you get to 6th grade too, it gets a little clicky. So it's really important to...
Yeah, how do you combat that within your classroom?
You just got to keep switching up the groups and go over routines and keep them, just make them aware of how the interactions are perceived by others.
How would you say the interaction between like a seen introverted student or extroverted student in a class group setting?
I want to see that kind of cohesive relationship where they're both benefiting. But where I can see it working well is when the introvert has a better understanding of the material than the extrovert, because then that puts that student in more of a leadership role, and so they can kind of hopefully find the confidence to explain what their thinking is with the extrovert. I think it's really important to have those mixed group settings between student abilities, and then it's kind of interesting too to put introverts together too, so they can focus on their strengths and extroverts can focus on their strengths. So it's always kind of mixed grouping for your task, but always allowing the students to interact with the different personalities.
I participate in men's rowing for UC San Diego. I think in middle school I was a lot better at talking with adults. I was an only child, and I had a lot of experience conversing with all the parents and everything like that, and that was kind of more my element. I was better at talking to teachers. I always felt like I was a little bit outcasted from my friend group in middle school, just purely because of my differing interests and the different way that I decided to present myself socially. My peers from school, especially when I started rowing in the 7th grade, were very different, like a completely different group of people. But my group from rowing, what was really great about them is they constantly provided me support, and they were always there to try and nurture me, because that was the thing, is that I was 4 or 5 years younger than some of the people on that team, and the thing that stands out to me the most is they would tell me almost every day, they'd say, "Tasio, you're going to be so fast one day." And I never believed them, and I couldn't imagine that 8 years later I'd be still doing this sport, and I'd be succeeding. So I think rowing in particular has really brought me so many benefits that I can't even start to get into. But in terms of the main influencers on my life, I think in terms of leadership characteristics, I was a 3-year team captain on my high school team, and this is my first year being an academic captain on the college rowing team. And so leadership is by far the number one thing that it brought me in terms of being confident in myself to be able to instruct others and be able to influence a group of people towards a common goal. And along with that leadership, you definitely need confidence in yourself to be a good leader. Rowing itself is a really unique sport in terms of the fact that everyone in the boat, so I row in 8-man boats with one coxswain, so there's 9 of us, but the 8 people that are physically rowing all do the same thing, having to cooperate together and do the same exact thing and perfectly mirror each other from the beginning to the end over a 2,000 meter race to really achieve your goal. In terms of the connection aspect of rowing, I think what's really cool about it is that you're thrown into a group of people that you're not very familiar with, and by the end you have to learn how to cooperate with these people, because even if there are big differences in terms of social views or any personal problems between people, there's still a need to separate yourself from that and come out and perform and work together as a team. And if you're not able to get over those things that are bothering you, it can have a really dramatic effect on how the boat ends up moving in the end.